Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Expert Series. I'm your host, Dr. Manjari Nadkarni, and today I have an amazing artist with me. And it's been a while. I wanted to get Dayna on our show and talk to me about creating a space because she has such an amazing space. If you follow her on Instagram, you will absolutely fall in love with what she does. And make sure you follow her on Instagram at Dayna.Dekroon, right? That's your Instagram
Yeah,
handle.
yeah.
And she's a visionary artist, she's an interior decorator, she's a sacred self guide, and who is all about reclaiming your space and creating that space within and without as well. So, welcome, Dayna. How's your day going so far?
It's going really well. It's actually funny that you bring up my space because this morning I just saw a picture of what it used to be. My space used to be my kids' playroom because I never gave myself or allowed myself to have my own space. So it was a really good reminder of like just to see how far I've come in my own like self-worth journey.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And when we talk about, creating the space for ourselves, you said that, okay, it used to be your kids' playroom, but you've reclaimed your space. So why do you feel is that important, or how does it change an individual?
Like for me, I found it gave myself this physical space to set up an area for me to do what I love. And I love to do watercolor paints.
Yeah.
And by having this space already set up for something that brings me so much joy, it makes it easier to actually do that thing within our busy lives. And
Mhm.
I like to guide my clients to really embody a feeling that they want to feel when they're in that space and allowing themselves to really like allow themselves to have that time because as busy moms or busy women and men, we don't really give ourselves time to really slow down and
Mhm.
do the things that we used to love maybe as a child.
Yeah, yeah. And that's so true. Today I was talking to one of my friends in the morning, and she's like, "What do you really love to do?" And I'm like, "Art." I think I'm an artist, right? I do something completely different. And even reading the book by Julia Cameron, where she talks about the morning pages, or, it's all about
Mm.
unblocking yourself. And it's so true. I think I love to be an artist, and that's I see art in everything. That's why I have fun, like designing Canva posters or whatever it is. um, so how was your journey towards being an artist?
Like how I came, like I
Yeah.
guess like it really started actually a couple years ago. I reclaimed that space to be my own, and I started to share my work on the online world. And then I had the most beautiful soul reach out to me, and we started a business together. And that kind of got the ball rolling for me to really like start this inner journey because I was exposing myself in a different way
Mhm.
and just really like embodying the feeling I felt when I was slowing down and really getting that inner guidance to come through. So
Mhm.
my art to me is my meditation.
Mhm.
And that flow and that movement is very feminine. The feminine likes to have that movement where the masculine energy likes to kind of be in stillness.
Mhm.
And I find I'm a feminine core essence, and to have that movement really allows me to let go of my ego who's telling me to whatever resistance. And when I'm in that flow, I can just let go of the outcome and really stay focused in the moment.
Mhm. And that is really amazing. And for the listeners, who are new to, the concept of sacred space that we're talking about, right? So according to you, what exactly is a sacred space, and why is it so important? You mentioned that your journey started by creating the space for yourself, and that really empowered you to, take control of your life, do the things that you always wanted to do, and just bring a lot of joy to your life. Right now, the one issue that I'm seeing with my clients is, even with the pandemic, though we had a lot of time, people didn't have time. Like initially,
Mhm.
everybody is like, okay, I'm off work, I'm at home, but there's no space for themselves, there's no time for themselves, right? So what like how can they create the space? I know I'm asking all the questions in one go, but
Yeah,
what is the sacred space that we should be creating? Why is it important, and how can one create it?
I think like what sacred space really is so that you can be present. So being grounded in the moment. And then the next layer is finding that core desired feeling that you want to feel
Mm-hmm.
and really embodying that. And I encourage my clients to engage with their five senses because we are programmed to live outside of us. And with our five senses, they're like a 6-lane highway, and we're being thrown so much information at us. And when we can engage those with intention, then we can really like start to slow down and start to block out that background noise. So
Mm-hmm.
sacred space is really slowing down
Mm-hmm.
and going within.
Mm-hmm.
And you can then add in that layer of what you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's just simply sitting in a chair with your eyes closed and sipping a warm tea and actually being present with it, so bringing that like mindfulness piece into it, or for me, bringing my watercolors out and diffusing some really amazing essential oils, and I have plants and crystals all around me. So when I immediately walk into that space,
Mm-hmm.
I'm lit up immediately. And then to your next question, this was definitely a challenge for me through the pandemic because my family was home and I don't have a door on my sacred space. That's actually one of the things on my Christmas list is to have a door to my office so that I can like block that energy out. But I think like then that comes to like pockets of time. So for me, I would get up before my family and really create that time for myself and just like starting the day off with that slow, really enjoying my coffee, having a big glass of water and just journaling out because I love the morning pages. That's really helped me get grounded and starting my day off with that practice and just being creative in how you can fit these little pockets of time to be with yourself. It doesn't have to be this like hour long thing. It could be simply hiding in a corner in a comfy chair with a cup of tea or whatever lights you up.
Mm-hmm. So I love it that you mentioned the five senses, because in Ayurveda, we talk about the five elements that pertain, like that make the fabric of the entire universe. Everything in our body, everything in the world is literally made up of these five elements, and they do pertain to the five senses. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you integrate, the five senses for your clients to bring them back to their sacred space?
Yeah, so right now I'm working with a design client. So like really there's kind of two places that I work with clients. It's like their outer environment
Mm-hmm.
and then their inner environment. So the outer environment would be their home, finding the physical sacred space, and then the inner would be like the mindset and really finding that self-worth within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So with the design client, we are exploring through creative mindfulness, like tapping into that energy by slowing down and just literally taking a pen to paper and scribbling on a page and asking yourself questions and allowing that first answer to come through.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever comes through, we kind of take that feeling and we kind of go deeper into what that feeling means to them because it's going to mean different things to each person.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at their space and like, how can we integrate our five senses into this space when they enter? And how can we reflect that feeling? So with sight, what makes them feel good? What do they think reflects that feeling? So I have a client who wants to feel light. And light to them means like safety and unguarded and protection and just like abundance. Like there's so many things that came together into this one word. So really exploring that. So then we start to look at different materials that reflect that feeling. So that's like one sense. So sight and touch would also be in there. And then I really like to work with energy too. So like I've really found plants and crystals and like that type. Like I'm not really deep into the energy work part of it, but it's definitely something that I'm exploring. And just bringing those elements of nature really changes the space like so much. And yeah, and just essential oils or candles or just like it's amazing how we can really be intentional about every item that we place into a space and the energy behind that as well.
Wow, that is something that's really new to me, because I've brought a lot of plants on, so I'm doing good with that. I love my plants, and the only space right now I have is my office space right to the window because in Canada we don't have enough sunshine. So all my winterized plants are back, they're indoors. My hibiscus is indoors. Then I have some turmeric that I've been growing, rosemary. So they're all sitting on my writing desk in my office. I absolutely love it. Like when I see that visual space, I'm just in a happy space. That green really grounds me. But the one thing that I struggle with, and I know a lot of my friends struggle with, is this clutter and chaos is what
Yes.
is extremely common. And I think that's a huge deterrent, right? When you try to create that space. And often for me, my mental space, like as I start getting busier and it gets chaotic, everything starts getting messed up outside, right? So do you have any tips or tricks for someone who wants to create a sacred space, but they have so much clutter, they have so much chaos going on, and even taking those 5 minutes, to breathe might seem challenging at a certain point of time, so how do you create that space, and how do you cut through all the clutter and the chaos?
Yeah, I think like for me, it's been a really long process of because I used to be a really big hoarder. My husband's a hoarder. My youngest daughter, who is 5, is also a hoarder. And it definitely, when I look around my space and when it is cluttered, I know that I'm feeling off and out of alignment. So that's a really good indicator. And for someone who's like really feeling really, really overwhelmed, I would tell them to take one baby step at a time. So whether it's like, I'm going to take 10 things and donate it each day and do that for 30 days. And just the act of trying to find things to either throw out or to donate in these like chunks would be a really good starting point. And then they can do a deeper level after that as they like gain more control of the clutter, because it can get out of control and it will get out of control as things evolve.
Mhm.
And so it's like a spiritual maintenance. I call like taking care of my spaces a spiritual practice and a spiritual maintenance. I like right now, my sacred space upstairs is not feeling too sacred right now because it's like a bomb went off in there. So usually every Sunday I'll go in and kind of straighten things out so that I can start the week with a clean slate. So it's really like depending on how overwhelming it is, it's just about baby steps and taking it one step at a time. So that finding 10 things for like a week or 30 days would be a really good place to start.
Mhm. So, like maybe decluttering one thing at a time, or
Mm-hmm.
giving yourself like a period of 30 days where you're like, okay, I don't need this. Like, hoarding is so common in today's world, right? Like, tons of things, either they have sentimental value, they don't. I have 50 saris, maybe more, and I wouldn't give them away because I know they bring a lot of happiness to me. But I have so many other things I don't care for, but I'm still holding on to them.
Yeah, it's definitely a process, right? Like there's things where I would keep 2 years ago and then I came across them again and that attachment to it really was different because I've grown. So as people do their personal development work and work on themselves and really dive deeper into to who they are, their essence, their true essence, their sacred self, they are going to learn. It's a process. It doesn't need to be perfect right now here in this moment. It just this one baby step towards that is going to help make you feel better. And yeah, like whether you do the whole house and doing 10 items within the whole house or concentrating on one area at a time, because if you're doing that deep purge, it always gets worse before it gets better because you're taking everything out and then you got to put it back in.
I know. I almost went into Mary Kondo shock because she's like, "Oh, take out everything," and I'm like piling my clothes and piling my clothes, and then I see this mountain, and I was almost about to get a panic attack, and I just put it back. I'm like, I can't deal with it. Not working for me.
Yeah, and like everything has energy, right? Like just the attention behind it. So if you do have a lot of stuff in there, you need to start exploring why. Why is all this stuff here? Is this, like, for me, that used to be like a coping mechanism, was like going out and buying new things. And that's how I would fill myself. The feminine energy likes to be filled, whereas the masculine energy likes to be emptied.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way. Another way women might do it, whether it's in a healthy or unhealthy way, is food. So we like to be filled up.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk more about the masculine and the feminine energy, and how can one notice, which energy are they embodying at a certain time?
Yeah. So I guess like we have both energies within us. This is something that I'm recently learning, and I find it so, so fascinating. So there's like the divine feminine and the divine masculine. That's when you're in alignment. And then there's the wounded masculine and the masculine, wounded feminine. And one way you can find what your core essence is, one of my mentors said to, like, you prefer to be at like the ocean or a lake, or do you like to be in a forest? So
Okay.
an ocean or a lake, there is that movement. Like sometimes the lake could be completely still,
Yeah.
or it could have that movement.
Mm-hmm.
In the forest, there is that stillness with all the trees. I mean, both will lie within each other. Like the wind will come through and move the trees, and that would be like the feminine energy. And just really noticing, like, just what feels good. Do you like that movement, or do you like to be in stillness? Do you like to be emptied at the end of the day, or do you like to be like filled up?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I know that I'm a feminine core essence, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working through some of that wounded feminine, especially with that filling up and
Yeah.
how I'm filling myself up. Is it
Mm-hmm.
in a healthy way or an unhealthy way?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and filling your spaces up is one way that necessarily might not be in a healthy way. So
I have never thought about it this way, So thank you so much. It's like, okay, some light bulb goes on, but that makes totally sense because a lot of women, like to cope, they'll binge, right? They'll
yeah,
they'll hoard things, compulsive buying. Like I used to shop like crazy when, I wasn't working, and I knew kind of I didn't see much direction to my own work at the time. So initially, like that was my way to cope, was like, oh, let's go get shopping and just buy things, makes you feel good. And or even eating or bringing a lot of food, that is like, these are the comfort things. But yeah, so if you are someone who's used to filling things up, just out of curiosity, should you focus more on emptying, or should you focus more on finding constructive ways of filling your life rather than filling food?
yeah, I found, actually recently I found I was filling myself up with content on social media that was not serving me. So that was one way that I was filling myself up. So I really had to take a step back, and this past week I've been really taking a step back just to see, like how am I spending my day? And I find at the end of the day I'll fill myself up with food, and you could do that and that's fine. It's just, are you binging just to like numb yourself out, or are you doing it to enjoy it? I
Yeah.
think it's the intention behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as women, as a feminine core essence, we want to fill ourselves up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's just who we are. There will be times where if you're working in your business, you're going to need to empty, because that's working in your business is very masculine. So
Yeah.
you are going to want to like empty that masculine energy,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can step into your feminine. And so it's really about exploring what does fill you up, what lights you up, what feels good
Mm-hmm.
for you, and what is in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it may not in the moment where I would rather just like sit on the couch, watch my Christmas movies on Netflix and like have some good brownies, or maybe instead what I truly need is to like quiet the mind and go to my desk and do some nice watercolor paintings and really get lost in that flow. So that would fill me up, especially the way that I set my space up by like really making it super special. It's not just sitting there painting and then leaving. It's really taking those time to create a ritual around it. Another way that what I've been doing is taking a bath, but I'll light some candles, some essential oils, and I'll put some music on, which I usually sit in silence, but having that like high vibe music has really been like super grounding for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is amazing, that, creating like an intentional space, just not any space. And you also spoke about the core desired feelings and cultivating core desired feelings, right? And the problem with today's world is we don't want to feel anything. We just want to numb out, right? The
Yeah,
hard feelings, you just want to numb out, and everything else is autopilot, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so the hard ones we're like, okay, I don't want to make, feel bad or sad or grieve something. And the day-to-day mode is autopilot. So how do you develop or cultivate these core desired feelings? And are they going to be somewhat similar for different individuals, or are they going to be like they can be anything for anyone?
yeah. So like my core desired feeling is like feeling opulence. So to me, what that means is this like abundance, bliss, joy, but also this sense of peace. So
Okay.
for me, I actually made a list of like a list of words that resonated around that, what that means, but then also like what lights me up and what brings me joy. And it could be things, it could be people, it could be just simply having a cup of tea. So just like being aware of what fills you up and what makes you happy and what makes you reflect that feeling, like activities, is really powerful. And then also then in your space as well. But it doesn't mean like I want to feel abundance and I want to feel joy and peace. You do still need to do things that maybe not in the moment feel good.
Mhm.
you know, that was like an aha moment I had this week. It's like, oh, that's why I really enjoyed running. I felt so amazing after. And like in the moment, it may not feel that like opulent feeling, but afterwards, that's where the gold is. So it's really being aware of like we live on three planes, right? We have a spiritual, we are physical, and an intellect. So on those three planes, how can you reflect that desired feeling? And the way that I teach my clients to dive into that feeling is actually through a visualization, through creative mindfulness. So like doing some scribbles and just getting grounded, and then just finding out like how do I want to feel, because oftentimes we really don't ask ourselves that, and we are usually numbing out ourselves through whatever means. So by becoming aware, and when you come out of alignment and you do feel those like more shadow feelings, it's really great to like kind of take a self check, like why am I feeling this, what
Mhm.
am I emotionally involved with that's making me feel this way. This could be a thought, a belief, it could be your space, your physical space playing a role in that. And
Mhm.
it's really about like checking in, and then choosing your desired feeling and moving towards that.
Mhm. For someone who's starting out, and they want to create like a physical space, because I know you're like an interior designer, um, who's really into mindfulness and so how do we work, like, sorry, there was a message, so I got totally
That's
distracted
okay.
on my phone. Yeah, so how, if someone wants to start out and they're like, okay, I really need to create this sacred space for myself and my surroundings, is there a template, or how should they go about it?
I think it's really about, yeah, finding that feeling. That's like the first thing I guide my clients through is like discovering their feeling that they want to feel, and then finding the physical space that they want to change, and really going through like, okay, is there like clutter? Is there things that I can edit out?
Mhm.
Is the color, like for me last fall, I usually suffer from seasonal depression with the light change. And my living room was a really, really dark green color. And last fall, I'm like, okay, it's time. So I painted it an off white. And just by doing that, like I thought originally we had to put pot lights in there and we'd have to all add all this light. But just by changing the paint color was significant. So it's really like looking at the layers of the space and kind of just going through. And that's something that I could guide people through as well.
Yeah, I painted my office, not home office is like bluish with light white walls. Everything else is white. Like it used to be like taupe and brownish. And I'm like, I hated my house, before I got it painted. Now my living room as well as my bedroom is a bright yellow.
Oh, that's amazing.
It is actually a bright yellow to the point where people are like, seriously? Like, one of my friends visited me and he was like, what? But I'm like, I love it. Like, I spend so much more time at home now. And even I feel refreshed in my own bedroom. I would just sleep and sleep and not want to do anything. Now I'm like, yeah, come on, what can I get going? And
That's amazing.
yeah, and I have taken your watercolors course as well, and that was really helpful in integrating that mindfulness. Can you tell a little bit more about your courses as well? And are you still
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So the Art of Surrender class that you've taken is really embodying the play aspect of creative full mindfulness. And it's really about like creating that space to slow down, to just
Yeah.
go within and listen, but you're also learning different watercolor techniques. And my philosophy is to let go of the outcome and be fully immersed in the process. And I find that can be with anything. So like when I work with a client in the design world, it's an experience. I want it to be an experience. The Art of Surrender class is an experience so that you can create that sacred space. And I touch on how to engage the five senses. I'm actually updating it right now, so you will be getting the updated version as well. And there'll be some new features coming in, and so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really excited. And yeah, it's just really creating that space to slow down and play
Mhm.
and bring more play into your life, because we as adults don't allow ourselves to go there. It needs to be productive.
Yeah. See, and with me, I think it was about letting go of the control. Every time I would get books about watercolor or something, and I wanted to do it perfectly. I wanted to control every aspect of the creation. But with the course that I took from you, I could just let myself go and be and do, or just let it manifest as it came through, rather than controlling every stroke of the brush to create something. So that was a wonderful change that I noticed myself. So how can people find you? Like, thank you for all the teachings that you've given us about creating sacred space. And I know you work one on one with lots of women as well, helping empower them, coaching them through all their struggles. So how can one connect with you?
I'm mostly on Instagram. That would probably be the best place to reach me. I do have a newsletter that they can join. And yeah, there's just a lot of exciting things kind of coming down. I'm in creation mode right now. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And also, if you would share the class with us, if there's a link, that would.
Yeah, I can share that. Yeah, it's not live yet, but there is still the version on that's hosted on Facebook. But yeah, I'm hopefully the next week or two, it will be out in the open again. So
When are you launching it again?
when am I launching? We're hoping in the next week or two, Yeah.
No, let me know. I'll be more than happy to share it, And if you need any feedback, I'm even happy to give you a video testimonial on that.
Oh yeah, that would be
Yeah,
amazing. Thank
that
you
was
so
a
much.
really amazing class, and I loved it. And I've known you for some time now, and I've really loved your work. I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and it's just amazing what you create. It's just so beautiful. So thank you so much for being with us and teaching us how to create a sacred space. And for everyone, you can connect with Dayna on Instagram at Dayna.Dekroon. And you can also reach out to me if you need to reach out to her, and stay tuned for the Art of Surrender version 2. I'm super excited for that one. The one I took was really amazing. The second one, I know it's going to be even better. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
Thank
thank you
you
so
so
much.
much for having me. It was such a pleasure to reconnect and see you. And yeah, thank you again.
You're most welcome. Bye for now.
All right, see ya.
Yeah.